So I started working with 4-Acre Group in 2006 and was part of the first team that worked on the communications and marketing and social media for Pick.Click.Give when that first came to fruition. So I've got a lot of familiarity with Alaska nonprofit organizations, with Pick.Click.Give, and my heart is still there in Alaska, so you'll be seeing me there more often than not. So my job today is to speak with you about social media, and social media as it pertains to your organization, and your organization in the context of letting people know about Pick.Click.Give and your involvement with Pick.Click.Give. And I understand there's a new campaign that's launching in the new year, Love Alaska. So how do you incorporate that into what you're doing online, and particularly with social media, in order to show people and tell people and let people know that you are a part of this bigger statewide program? So we're going to cover the following areas. Let's see. There we go. Key elements of social media. I'm going to start a little bit on the storytelling side. This is the less technical portion of this program. And then I'll go specifically into how to use visuals and how to use video as part of storytelling through social media. And we'll focus mostly on Facebook, Twitter, and touch on YouTube as well. Now, I'll also, after the visual and video portion of the program, get into a conversation about calls to action and about engagement with your community in social networks. So let's give some context here. We are in this ultra hyper connected world, and we're connected in ways that we never dreamed possible. 20 years ago, if you told us we'd be holding our computers in the palms of our hands, communicating not just with our friends or family or business colleagues, but with anybody, you probably would have said, I probably would have said, you're crazy. And now today, that's what we do. We're in a social and a mobile world like we have never known before. And with that comes a great responsibility and a whole lot of power, and the ability to connect to whomever you would like to connect in an incredibly intimate and immediate way. Now, how do you make an impact with this kind of ultra connectivity? And everybody's connected at once, and everybody has so many messages that they now have to pay attention to, whether it be the Twitter feed or the Facebook posts or the video that somebody's emailed them. It's through our stories. Our stories reveal common ground. They tell us something more about someone else and brings us in, draws us in, brings us closer to other people. And this has been true for centuries. This has been true before social media. So returning to the art of storytelling to get your message across is an incredibly powerful thing to do in the social networks, and this is what we're attracted to, and this is what other people are attracted to. And I'm going to explain some technical ways of doing this, but the reasons to do this is because stories can connect us. Stories are that glue in the fabric of our society, and social media lets us share our stories in entirely new ways. And we tend to think it's all about the technology. Well, it isn't. It's about those stories. It's about those conversations. It's about that information. It really is not about the technology. So I hope that By the end of this session, you'll be thinking, I'm seeing now I have the power and the ability to use these tools to do what I do well, tell the story and the mission of my organization. Now, it's also important to keep in mind that some of the most valuable stories that you're telling are the outcomes. If you're out there talking about Pick.Click.Give, if you're out there talking about your mission and your organization, what you do, most people who you're trying to reach, be it a volunteer, be it a donor, their first thought is usually, well, what's going to happen with my efforts? If I contribute, if I donate, if I participate, what's going to happen with that? So sharing your outcomes is a critical piece of your storytelling in social media. And connecting emotionally. What are the stories that you can tell that tap into people's emotions? And this isn't pulling the heartstrings and playing on the emotions in a token manner. This is making genuine emotional connections with the people, your fans, your followers, and your friends in social networks. And through social media, you are empowering other people to pass your story along. So it's really important to understand how to craft stories for social media in order to make it more shareable, to compel people to want to pass it on to others. So social media being used by nonprofit organizations is not new. The 2012 Social Network Benchmark Report said that nonprofits are using social networks to expand their base, engage members, and grow fundraising. And I'm sure that many of you who have been using social media, particularly in the last few years, are doing some or all of these right now. iStockphoto.com and Dreamtime.com. These are stock image websites where you could get some images that you can use with permission without having to spend a lot of money. But it's always better if you have your own images as well. You have much more control over them and the ability and the permissions to use them. You want the images that you use online to be big. We've always said, there's no problem about the resolution of images, because on the web the resolution of images it can be small, it's very low. It doesn't have to be high quality, high resolution. Well, in social networks, they don't have to be high resolution images that you use, but you really have to think about the many different screens that people are using now to access the internet. So we keep thinking about the smartphone and the tiny screen, but the reality is the social networks that you use, they will take in larger images that they'll size down to any appropriate screen. So you think it's better to put a small image, but the truth is it's better to put a large image because they'll be sized down for the small screen and then sized up for the big screen. So if people are accessing the internet by their television, which does happen, Apple TV and all kinds of other people are accessing it by TV or by large computer screen, you want to make sure that you're using a larger image. You want your images to be compelling and to be shareable. So shareable also means if you own it, then you're giving people permission to share it. So whatever you do put online, make sure you want it to be shared. So why are visuals so important? Let me just show you a Facebook page. Here's a Facebook page, and here's a Facebook page. This is actually the same Facebook page, just different sections of the page. But which one is more compelling? Which one grabs your attention, draws you in, and makes you want to know more? We all hear the adage, a picture is worth 1,000 words. It is true. You could put pictures in your social networks, on Facebook, you could put pictures on Twitter, and it'll have far more immediate impact, and it'll draw people in more quickly and more readily than text. Hate to say it, but our attention spans are shorter. But knowing that, having a very strong image will do wonders for getting somebody's attention and for helping to keep that attention. So eye-catching images. When we're talking about visuals, we want the images to be eye-catching. And this is clear. You want close-ups. You want something that people say, oh, I wonder what that is. Oh, I wonder what they're talking about. Another aspect of images are human beings, people. Many of you work with people, serve people. Some of you work with and serve animals. That's another aspect. So faces of animals could be just as engaging and attracting. But as human beings, we do want to see other human beings, even on the computer screen. So what people can you put into photos to draw in and tell your story? You can share real-time moments, so images, visuals from events that you have, from work that you're doing. You can take people behind the scenes, give them that glimpse of what really goes on, and spell out the work that you do through pictures. So I want to take that concept of the importance and the power of visuals and now bring it down to specific social networks. Starting with Facebook, here are some of the areas where visuals are very important. The cover image, which is the top image right at the very top of your Facebook page. The profile image, which represents you whenever you're acting as your page on Facebook, when you're posting to your page. And app images, and I'll show you what that looks like in a moment, but there are usually 3 or 4 boxes that appear underneath the cover image. And then post images. When you post something, the images that you include in your post or link to in your post and how they appear. So those are 4 very distinctive places on a Facebook page that you can use images. So here is an example of a cover image, the top image, a profile image. You can also see the app images below, photos, donate, events, video. So the most important thing to consider is, how are you telling your story through that large visual that Facebook allows you to use? And for anyone who likes numbers and technical specs, that Facebook cover image should be at least 851 by 315 pixels. 851 by 315 pixels. That is actually the ideal size according to Facebook, so your cover image shows up just right. Showing, in this one in particular, it shows faces of humans. It shows some action. It shows some action that we understand. Serving food. It relates directly to the organization. It also has a little bit of whimsy. It's showing the holiday elf cap and the reindeer antlers. So it's giving you a sense of time. It's giving you a sense of place, a sense of purpose, and of people. All of that in this cover image. First impressions. Now, the profile image, I would argue that it really should be your organization logo or an image that so strongly speaks to who you are and what you do. I sometimes see Pick.Click.Give organizations use the Pick.Click.Give logo as their profile image, and there's some better ways of branding your Facebook page or your Twitter account with Pick.Click.Give, or in this case, Love Alaska, then replacing your profile image. Your profile image is representing you wherever you might go, and on Facebook, it is what appears when you post, but it's also what appears when you post on other people's pages as your page. So it represents you. And here is an example or an idea of where you could brand your Facebook page with Love Alaska. And why would you want to do that? Again, it's to show people that you're part of this incredible statewide campaign and program. And it helps also the campaign tie all of you together to show such a great reach and diversity of issues and organizations. So it's sort of a win-win for everybody. But I would say use your profile image to represent you, and then put the branding for the campaign on your cover image like that. Now, down to these app images, I'm going to get a little bit more technical for a moment because a lot of you may not know how to change these app images. And if you notice that photos, events, and video, those are the 3 default apps that Facebook allows you to have. And they will only show the last photograph or video that you uploaded. Those are not necessarily customizable. And photos, you can't move that around, but you can move around the other 3. And you can make those buttons customized and put them in the order that you want them to be, or add new ones in there. So the donate button, that's not customized. That's sort of a default setting from First Giving, which is a donation site. Let me show you quickly how you can customize. Here's how you customize apps. And I used my own Facebook page to show you. These are all customized apps, custom designs. First, if you notice on the right-hand side of your apps, there's a little arrow. If you click on that arrow, it's like a triangle, it opens up all of your apps that you have, if you have others, and it puts you into edit mode. And you can hover over that app and see a menu that allows you to edit settings. So down below, there's an edit settings choice. And click on the edit settings choice, and now you can actually edit what it says under that box. So 3 simple steps, and you're able to customize that app image and customize what that app says. So it better communicates your message. Donate to us, volunteer, attend our event. Be really specific. I'll get into more of that in the calls to action portion, but that's a quick little trick on how you customize your apps. You can also swap positions of the apps. So sometimes you'll have an event that's happening and you want the event app to show up first. Other times you don't have an event, so there's no point in having it show up. Have something else show up, like sign up for my email newsletter. So you can rearrange the apps in the same area that you edit, swap positions with, and you can swap them around. Only 4 can show up at the top and be visible. The rest of them are hidden behind that little triangle that people can click on. I think most people don't click on it. So always make sure your most important apps and messages are at the top. Now, Facebook posts. Another wonderful chance on Facebook to show off your visuals, to show off your images and tell your stories. There's something called quote images that are incredibly popular and are shared so often. And I would say don't overdo them, but find ways that you could make an image with a quote in it. It could be just like the one here on the left-hand side, which is purely a quote, and make sure it's relevant to the message you're trying to communicate. Or you can take an image like the one on the right-hand side. The image itself tells a story, and then there's a quote there as well that gives it more of that shareability factor. It's so important for you to tell your story and tell it clearly, but it's also important that you create things that people just want to share. And people love sharing quotes. And oh, by the way, if you then also include a link, and that link takes people who see the quote back to your website or to your donate page or to an event calendar or to instructions on how they can pick your organization when they pick, click, and give. Whatever you drive them to, it's that first moment that they're attracted, and understanding that quote images are incredibly popular and attractive, I think is a really great way to get your story out there. Another nice way of utilizing visuals is to create photo albums in your Facebook page, because they appear as multiple images and it just has such great impact. And you may find as you begin to upload photo albums, so it's clusters and collections of images as opposed to just one at a time. Whenever you do put up an album, you'll probably get a lot more interaction because it's just that much more visually appealing. So consider the images that you have and how you can group them together to tell a longer story and to attract the eye even more. Now let's move to Twitter and how visuals can be used on Twitter. Now there's several components of your Twitter account where you can use images. One is called the header image, which I'll show you in a moment where that is exactly, but it's toward the top of your Twitter page on the web, but also it's the only designed portion of your Twitter page that appears when people are accessing your account on their smartphone. So that's really important to know. A lot of people leave that header image blank. Either they don't know that you can change it, or they haven't thought it was important. But because so many more people access social networks now through mobile, it's really important that you look at your header image and put something there that is visually appealing, clear, not confusing and cluttered, but can tell your story a little bit more strongly. Your profile image, background image on Twitter, and now the inline images. I'll show you what that means, but it's basically images showing up in your Twitter timeline. So here we go. Visuals, the background image, pretty self-explanatory. A lot of people, a lot of organizations are not using background images, and I would argue that's some of your best real estate to put some static imagery that tells your story, including you could put words behind there as well, and just understanding the dimensions and how they show up. But you technically have a pretty nice little left margin that you could fill with messaging, as well as a right margin. I usually design for the smaller screen so that it will always show up even on a large screen. This particular page was designed for a larger screen, so on my small screen I couldn't see the whole background. But at least I see color, I see a smiling child's face, it's relevant. Now if you look at the header image, it's the mountain and the fair. That image can be placed in there, and that's all that would show up if you visited their page on your mobile phone. The profile image and the header image shows up. The background image will not. So the profile image, again, back to the same thing with Facebook. It should be your logo or some image that is so recognizably you, or your mission, or your message. And it needs to be very legible or easy enough to figure out what it is when it's very, very small. And that's the same when you use your logo or any kind of image for your profile image. It will appear so tiny in certain places that you want to make sure it still makes sense, at least gives people the impression of your brand. Now here is what I talked about, inline images. Inline images are fairly new on Twitter, and Twitter's very picky about what images it shows and what images it will not show. So there are 3 ways to get images to show in your Twitter stream and in other people's Twitter streams. And now this shows up without people having to click. It appears right there in the Twitter stream, in the Twitter feed. The 3 ways to get it to show up. You either upload your image straight to Twitter at twitter.com on the web, or use Twitter's application, their Twitter app for iPhone or for Android. If you're using the Twitter app, you can add an image into your tweet, and so that will show up as an inline image. Another way to do it is to retweet somebody who has an image in their Twitter stream. That's also possible. So you either use Twitter's own site or applications, or retweet someone who has that image already there, and it'll then show up in your stream with their logo and profile. Then the third way is to use a site called Buffer. And some of the other sites that you may use as your tool to post to Twitter and to schedule posts, Buffer, I know for a fact, will allow you to also add an image, and those images do appear in your Twitter stream. But a lot of other things that you might do, such as post from Instagram, your Instagram photos will not appear. The reason for that is Twitter is suppressing those images because Instagram is owned by Facebook. So there's a lot of competition here, and Twitter's trying to control what images appear, and they want to make sure that they're coming from places and applications that they approve. But you can start using some graphics, some visuals in your Twitter stream, where before we never were able to do that in that kind of way. Now here's a quick note. On the left-hand side is exactly how an image would appear in a stream, and on the right-hand side is the actual image itself. So if you notice, there is a better way of getting your image to look right in Twitter. And of course, I've forgotten the dimensions, but I could get those to you. I'm going to make sure you get this presentation, and I'll make sure I include the dimensions, the ideal dimensions for a Twitter image. Let's move on to video. For video, some of you may have YouTube accounts, and some of you may be thinking about dabbling in video. And video is often a very intimidating thing for many people. And one thing you need to know is you don't need the highest produced video in order to be effective with video in social media. Nicely produced video is fantastic, and you should be leveraging it throughout your social networks. But also in-the-moment video taken with a smartphone, taken with a fun app like Instagram or Vine, it's also acceptable. So don't be intimidated. Just make sure that whatever you are videoing helps tell your story in a clear way. So video should also be owned. It's much better for you to own the video you use than to try to repurpose somebody else's video. It should be short, 1 to 3 minutes. It could even be 30 seconds, or in the case of a Vine video, 6 seconds, or in the case of an Instagram video, 15 seconds. So even the shortest of formats could be incredibly valuable for giving somebody an impression or attracting their attention. And you want your video to be compelling and to be shareable. Let's look at YouTube first. For YouTube, I think a lot of people are forgetting that YouTube allows you to design your channel. So if you do have a YouTube account, make sure you're taking advantage of all the features that YouTube gives you to clearly communicate who you are and what you do. And the first part is the channel art. Now, believe it or not, I did put the dimensions here. Believe it or not, YouTube is saying the channel art, which appears across the top like a header, should be 2,560 pixels by 1440. That is huge. That is enormous. Now, why are they doing that? Because of television. They're directing you to use the largest possible image size. And this image usually is not just what we're seeing here, which is a strip across with the Beads Cafe logo and then some trees, but they're recommending you use the entire image, top to bottom, ground to sky, floor to ceiling, whatever that image is, as big as you can make it. Only a middle portion will show up on your YouTube channel on the web. A smaller and different portion shows up on a smartphone. And then the entire thing will show up on Apple TV or any kind of television screen. Now they offer a featured trailer, so you can pick one of your videos to be featured. So you can make something that's timely, that's related specifically to Pick.Click.Give, and have that show up at the top. There's also the opportunity to put in a bio and description and your links to website, Facebook, Twitter. Make sure you fill everything in on your profile. And when you do, and when you connect to your Facebook account and your Twitter account, then people have the opportunity from your YouTube channel to go to your other social networks as well. So take advantage of everything that YouTube is letting you do and provide, because that helps tie everything that you are doing elsewhere in social media together. Two really quick features I want to mention. You can Google these to find out more about them. But there's annotations. When you put videos up, you can annotate those videos with calls to action, with links to the websites or other videos. So consider looking up annotations on YouTube. And there are instructions, easy to follow instructions on how you can add these notes that appear on top. They overlay on your video. You can also brand your videos. If you just search for in-video programming YouTube logo, you'll find out exactly how to add your logo to your videos. So every video is branded. I also, at the end of this presentation, have a link to an article I wrote with step-by-step instructions on how to do that. Two very simple, quick things you could do to suddenly turn your videos into branded messages with calls to action and links for people to take action. Now, video on Facebook is a little bit different. On the left-hand side is linking to a video in a Facebook post, but linking to a video that appears elsewhere. And that's how it shows up. On the right-hand side is uploading video straight to Facebook. Clearly, Facebook favors that you upload video straight there. Either way is okay. Either way adds visuals to your Facebook page, but the right-hand one will catch the eye a whole lot more, so keep that in mind. Yes, it means duplicating videos on Facebook and videos on YouTube, but the argument for that kind of duplication is you're reaching some of the same people on YouTube and Facebook, but you're reaching a lot of different people as well. So it's better to have your video in both places. Now, video on Twitter is a little bit of a different thing. Twitter is trying to control what appears in the Twitter feed. So if you upload a video to YouTube and then you link to it from Twitter, it will show up as a link. But if you use Twitter's video app called Vine, which is the 6-second video app, then it actually shows up as a video that can be played right there in the Twitter feed. So just something to keep in mind. I'm never one to say, rush out now and go get Vine so your videos will appear in your Twitter feed. Think about what you're trying to achieve. Think about the social networks that you use frequently and where you get the most response, and then choose the tools that help you use those well. But don't run out and get the latest, greatest new app if it doesn't fit into a bigger strategy. Calls to action. Speaking of strategy, calls to action are incredibly important, and you should be making sure that on a regular basis, some of your messaging have direct calls to action. Your calls to action should be clear, succinct, easy to take action. Keep in mind that people may not be accessing your social networks on the web. They may be on their smartphone. So what are you going to ask them to do? What are you going to instruct them to do that they're going to possibly have to do on the tiny little screen? Watch a video? That's easy on a smartphone. Fill out this survey may not be as easy. So make sure that you mix up your calls to action so that no matter how people access it, they can take action. And then you have to repeat these things because everything flows so quickly now. The Twitter stream is rushing by. The Facebook posts keep on going. The only thing that doesn't move as quickly usually is YouTube. But regardless, you want your messages to come out in a regular fashion. So you can catch people in the morning or in the afternoon or in the evening or on the weekends. You want to make sure people do eventually see your message. So here's why being clear is so important. And the next example is clarity through imagery. So here's an opportunity. This is an old version of a Facebook page, and here's an opportunity that's been missed to tell a bigger story. So here it just happens to be a Facebook page that doesn't have a cover image, much less a call to action. Now here is an image with really clear storytelling. So clearly showing a picture that gives us an impression, has you could have an immediate emotional connection from it. There's some subtle branding. Everyone's got a branded t-shirt on. It works on many levels, but here is clear with a call to action. All it takes is adding a few words. Add a few words to your image for a call to action. And this is true not just for images, placing words on images, but it's true for the text that you use in your posts. Another example of clear storytelling, we get this, we know what this is. However, that call to action added to that story now gives me a sense of purpose as a reader, as a viewer, as a follower. So choose your words thoughtfully and be concise and clear. Then draw your fans in. So finally, you've got fans, friends, followers, connections, contacts, whatever you want to call them. It's your community. So how do you engage your community? You've got some clear things that you want to accomplish in the next year as an organization and as part of Pick.Click.Give. With Pick.Click.Give, you've got a tighter window of when you want that to happen. So you want people to pay attention, you want them to be engaged. To do that, you need to understand who you're trying to reach and what you're trying to get them to do. That's part of marketing 101. That's not just in social media. But in social media, you have the ability to build community. And the way you engage your community is a lot of it has to do with understanding human nature. People want to be recognized. They want to be thanked. On your Facebook page, on Twitter, even in YouTube, any social network, find ways to thank your community. Just say thank you. Let them know what's going on, keep them informed, and thank them for being a part of what you're trying to do. And recognize them, call them out. Photos, names, obviously with permission, but people like to be recognized. They like the spotlight shining on them. They like to be part of a community and to let everyone know that they're part of that community and to let everyone know that they contributed. Now, this obviously has nothing to do with anonymous donors, but your volunteers or the donors who do want to be recognized, use your social networks to do that. So as Pick.Click.Give comes around and you're talking about it, people who visit your Facebook page, for example, and then see you thanking people, it gives them a really warm feeling. It gives them a sense of, I'm joining a community and participating in an organization who really cares and appreciates. Include your community. In your posts, let them know how they can take part, how they can make a difference, how they can join you in your efforts. State it outright. But give them those opportunities. So part of your messaging should be really clear, not just calls to action, but ways of including your community members. And show members of your community and show your donors and show your volunteers and even show the people you're serving and the differences that you're making in their lives. So every story that you tell is opening a new door to action. In social networks, you go from the story, which you emphasize through visuals or through video, but you need to also include a link that drives people to the things that they can do. And you drive them to more information, and you drive them to the poll or the survey, and you drive them to the video that they can watch or whatever that action may be. But you need to include those links. Simply putting out a tweet or a post that goes nowhere is often just a waste of that time and energy. If you've got their attention, just jump on that and send them to a place where they can help make a difference. So how do you determine success? Clearly, you have goals that you need met, and often they're related to money. And in social media, success is determined on many levels. First and foremost, it's about the connections and responses that you're able to make and the way that you can communicate more efficiently and more effectively with others. That is success in social media. It's not you have 1,000 Twitter followers, because if those 1,000 people are not ignoring you, they have less, are not listening to you and are ignoring you. They have less value to you than 10 followers, all of whom are incredibly engaged, click on your links, and make donations. So don't get caught up in the, oh, we have to have more followers. It's we will be more successful if our followers pay attention. And if we're delivering clear information and getting them from point A to point B, from getting them from our Facebook page to going to sign up for their PFD and picking us, that's going to be that ultimate success. But you get there in little baby steps. You've got to get out there now and engage them in conversation and tell your stories in many different ways and lead them continuously to the things you'd like them to do. So start with your goals. Build your brand through social media, increase awareness, inform, educate, inspire, attract attention, amplify your messages. When you put things out there that people want to share, they will share it to multiple people, amplifying your message, and you want to stimulate those actions. Gather them to like the Facebook page or to follow you on Twitter or to watch a video. They'll pass it on to people they know. You can target through Facebook ads or Twitter ads. You can actually target people based on issues they're interested in, the right age demographic, the right geographic location. And then when you look at your reports, particularly from Facebook, Facebook will tell you the exact times that your fans are online, meaning evenings. Wednesday at 6 p.m. is your strongest time to post. Well, that's when you should think about putting more energy toward posting. And map out your process. Who is responsible for this messaging? What tools are you going to use? I mentioned Buffer. There's a tool called Hootsuite that also helps you schedule messaging, or Market Me Suite. There are all kinds of tools out there to make it a lot more efficient and a lot less time consuming to manage and post to your social networks. How often will you engage? What will you schedule and automate? What will you say and show people? And what are the assets you can share? The visuals, the video, the message. How are you going to tell your story? And I'll leave you with this thought. Social media is not about technology. It's about people. And all of us have stories to tell, and stories to tell to the people out there waiting to be touched, waiting to be reached, waiting to hear that story that compels them to take action to make a difference. So what is your story? And how are you going to use social media to tell that story? So that's my presentation. I'd like to open it up to any questions. I think Suzanne can jump on with some instructions about it. I usually put my slides up on SlideShare. For this particular one, because it's so targeted, I'll give to Pick.Click.Give to then pass out to everybody. But if anybody would like to see some of my other slides, I put them all up on slideshare.net. And here are some of the places that you can find me and where you can reach me and a few of the books I've written. So, Suzanne, did you?
Yes, I see something from Joy down in Homer. When I created a Facebook presence for my organization, I was told it had to be an individual. Can I go back now and change and make it my organization?
Well, I'm wondering if what Joy means is when she first went on to Facebook, she may have created a Facebook profile, which is what individuals on Facebook have as their account. A profile, they also call it a Facebook timeline, but I call it a Facebook profile. That is an individual feature. Facebook does not want organizations or companies to use Facebook profiles. There used to be a way to change a profile to a page, but Facebook took that away, that feature away, and now you need to create a Facebook page separately and then let people know who are friends with you. See, that's one of the big differences is on a profile, you have friends. On a page, you have likes. We used to call them fans. I still do call them fans. So you would have to notify them that you've set up a page and eventually shut down or stop posting to that profile. So I think that's what she means by individual versus organization. However, if you've set up a page and chosen an individual, so for example, my page on Facebook is as an author, so that's an individual. I can go in and change the category on my page in the admin section if I decided the page was now for my company instead of for me. But I believe she's talking about profile to page, and there is no easy way of doing that. It's just trying to encourage people to follow you, but you've got to create that page so there's a page now for them to connect with you.
Great, thank you. And we have a question from Elizabeth, I believe. How can you brand a photo? I'm not sure I quite understand that question, but maybe it makes more sense to you, Eliza.
Yeah, to brand a photo. Well, if you have a photograph, there's several different ways that people tend to brand photos or brand images. One is you take what they call a bug or a thumbnail of your logo, and you have that appear on every image. Now, there's technical ways of doing this. There are photo programs that allow you to watermark a photo. So if you were to Google watermark images, free application, you'll find apps that will allow you to watermark a lot of photos at once, or just simply watermark any photo that you upload into the app. And by watermarking, it just means marking them with something. So it could be marking them with your logo. Some people will put a banner or a frame around or across an image where they include their URL, for example, their website address. So when you're using a photo program of some kind or a watermarking app, there are several different ways of putting something onto every photo that you upload that maybe protects the copyright, that has a visual link. It's not going to be a clickable link, but a visual link to your website address that has your logo so it's branded. So there's a lot of ways of stylistically doing that, and then there's some technical ways of doing it. There is a great online web-based application called PicMonkey, PICmonkey.com, PicMonkey.com, and it's free. I believe there may be a premium membership as well, but for free, you can edit your images even if you don't own Photoshop and you don't have graphic skills. You can upload your images to PicMonkey and you can add watermarks, so you can add your logo, or you can type words onto the image. It's a really great tool for people who are not really graphics people but need to manipulate graphics. So I hope that helps.
Okay, and I think this is our last question. Do you have suggestions for targeting Pick, Click, Give as an option for followers and frequency, duration of the campaign, things like that?
Uh, Suzanne, help me understand. What do you thinking it's
Let's see. Suggestions for targeting.
so I guess what I'm hearing and what I think it is, and correct me if I'm wrong. So Pick.Click.Give has a certain window of time that you need to get your messages out. So that's a specific window of time that you want to make sure that people know about. And I would say start sooner than later. Uh, then you want to know about targeting your messages for Pick.Click.Give, um, and how frequently you should put those
Yeah, perhaps.
messages out. Does that sound right?
Yeah, and whether there's a timing function that you could sequence
Hmm.
your posts.
Okay. Well, so from a sense, in terms of timing for posts, there are several different software applications and web-based products that allow you to time and schedule your posts. So I think let me start with targeting, and then I'll go into timing. In terms of targeting, if you're advertising on Facebook or Twitter, particularly, and I'd recommend that over advertising on YouTube per se, but if you advertise on Facebook or Twitter, you have the ability to target in an incredibly granular way, meaning so detailed and down to where they're located, what they're interested in. And I would really, really advise that you try to put some money aside for a highly targeted social media budget that your ads lead people to the critical messages about participating in Pick, Click, Give and picking your organization. This could be an entire session unto itself, but the idea of targeting to that level is something that's so exclusive to social networks like Facebook and Twitter, and I think you should look into it. But bar that, in terms of timing, yes, you can time your posts to release at specific days and specific times. In Let me just show you, I have, I think, a bonus screen. Here's a screen with some links to additional information on some of the things I spoke about. Here is a frequency screen. This is an additional hidden screen at the end of this slide that you'll get when you receive this. Here's how frequently you should be posting on social networks. And this is just minimal. And you can use Hootsuite. I mentioned that before, Hootsuite, Hootsuite, or Buffer, which is bufferapp.com. Those two are extremely affordable, like $6 a month, $9 a month, or even have a free version. And they allow you to determine the days and times you want posts to go out or tweets to go out. Now, Facebook also has a scheduler. I would recommend if you're posting to Facebook, you use their scheduler. And very quickly, when you're posting something on Facebook, notice at the bottom left-hand corner of the field that you're typing in, a little gray a little gray clock will appear. Click on that clock and it opens a calendar that you can then schedule your posts to go out later. And you can stockpile as many as you want to. This is really handy. You could write a bunch of posts in advance of a week or even a month, and then just schedule them to go out incrementally, at least daily for Twitter or Facebook, preferably more than daily, once a day for Twitter. So yes, there are tools that let you schedule. The timing and the frequency is based on mostly the tool that you're using and how fast the messaging travels. Twitter is much faster than Facebook, but Facebook is getting to be an incredibly fast stream. LinkedIn, you also have the ability to post messages like this to your personal LinkedIn stream or to an organization profile that you could put on LinkedIn as well. So many options here, but the idea is to use the ones where you know you're reaching the right people and where you're getting response. But if they don't see your message, they will not respond. So frequency, the more the merrier, particularly for something like Twitter. So hopefully that helps a little bit to give you some perspective in terms of timing and frequency and tools you can use and targeting.